Another day, another story. Exploring angels in the Bible. Dispelling common misconceptions. When contemplating angels, the typical mental image that surfaces often involves a towering, radiant figure adorned in white robes, boasting colossal wings, and perhaps crowned with a halo. For some, the envisioning of angels extends to cherubim, resembling cherubic children with halos, diminutive wings, and draped in white loincloths, gracefully hovering on clouds with harps in hand. This perception has been significantly shaped by the portrayal of angels in Christian art and media throughout the years, garnering widespread acceptance. However, this portrayal diverges from biblical accuracy. While the Bible doesn't prescribe a singular form for all angels, it does provide specific descriptions for some, challenging the prevailing notions that many hold about their appearance. The Old Testament, the Book of Revelations, as well as a few other texts, give angelic descriptions contrary to what most people have come to know. That is what we will explore in this article. What do real angels look like according to the Bible? What are their features? To lay a foundation on what biblically accurate angels look like, first of all, take a look at what the scriptures say about them. They are spirit beings and thus immortal. Luke 20:36 says, "And they can no longer die, for they are like the angels. They are God's children since they are children of the resurrection." Angels have been around even before the earth began. They do not die because they are spirits, just like God is. They are messengers. Hebrews 1:14 says, "Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation?" They carry out God's command on earth. They pass on God's messages just like they did in the case of Lot and Mary. They guard us, Psalm 91:11, and even show up in human form to render help to people on the earth. Whatever is the will of the Father, they go on to carry it out. Some are warring angels and those meant for destruction. Psalm 78:49 reads, "He unleashed against them his hot anger, his wrath, indignation, and hostility, a band of destroying angels." Biblically accurate angels make up God's heavenly army. They constitute the warriors that went to war in heaven before Satan's fall, and they can still provoke war and destruction at God's command. They have emotions. Old Testament angels were desirous of the women of the earth and so mated with them and created Nephilim and giants. They also had the choice to choose to rebel against God with Satan or not. This means they possess a will and even desire. They are not to be worshipped. A biblical angel is God's messenger or servant. As awe-inspiring as they are, they point back to the Lord and are not to be worshipped in place of him. An angel in Revelation 22:9 reinforces this by saying to John, "You must not do that. I am a fellow servant with you and your brothers, the prophets, and with those who keep the words of this book." Worship God. They do not take any glory or any form of worship in God's stead. Revelation 4:8 mentions 4 living creatures before God's throne that had 6 wings and were covered with eyes all around, even under their wings. In Ezekiel 1:16-18, Ezekiel also describes creatures that are like a wheel within a wheel, with each of their 4 rims filled with eyes all around. These particular angels serve as the wheels of God's throne. Ezekiel also describes other angels called cherubims that have 4 wings and 4 faces, one of a lion, an ox, a man, and an eagle. Ezekiel 10:14. On the other hand, some biblically accurate angels also appeared to men in the form of humans. Daniel describes the one who appeared to him as having the form of a man, Daniel 8:15. In Genesis 18:22, the 3 angels who appeared to Abraham also looked like human travelers, and that was why he was hospitable to them. The same angels led Lot and his family out of the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. In the New Testament, the ones who were at Jesus' tomb on the morning of his resurrection were described to have been 2 men in dazzling clothes, Luke 24:4. When Jesus ascended to heaven in Acts 1:10, it was recorded that there were 2 men with white cloth who addressed his disciples. Biblical scholars naturally assume them to be angels. You can note that the Bible consistently gives a bizarre description of angels when it comes to revealing the glory of heaven to men like John, Daniel, and Ezekiel. But when it came to earthly errands, all the people who saw them in a form they could relate to. This tells us that they can probably take up any form because they are spirits, but God makes some simple things our minds still can't comprehend. Just imagine one of the bizarre-looking angels around God's throne appearing to a human to give them his message. The words "fear not" wouldn't do the slightest thing to quell their fears. They'd probably have a heart attack on the spot from fright, or take off screaming their heads off. Taking on a human-like figure helps people focus on God's message rather than the messenger. Why angels look the way they do. The popular image of angels with flowing white robes, halos, and beautiful wings as seen in art and fiction does indeed differ from the descriptions of angels found in some religious texts, particularly in the Judeo-Christian tradition. This discrepancy can be attributed to several factors. Artistic interpretation. Much of the angelic imagery in art and culture has been shaped by artistic interpretation and creativity. Artists have often depicted angels in ways that are visually appealing and relatable to human sensibilities. These artistic representations may not necessarily align with the descriptions of angels found in religious texts. Symbolism and iconography. The traditional image of angels with beautiful wings and halos serves as a symbol of purity, divinity, and the connection between heaven and earth. These visual cues are used to convey spiritual concepts and may not necessarily reflect the literal appearance of angels. Comfort and reassurance. Many depictions of angels in popular culture emphasize their comforting and reassuring qualities. This is done to provide solace and hope to people who encounter these images in times of need or distress. Angels are often seen as protectors and messengers of good news. Simplification for understanding. Complex and potentially terrifying descriptions of angels from religious texts may be simplified or softened in popular depictions to make them more accessible and less intimidating to a broad audience. Cultural evolution. Over time, cultural and societal perceptions of angels have evolved. The image of angels as benevolent and gentle beings has become deeply ingrained in many cultures, even if it doesn't align precisely with the descriptions found in religious texts.